The first time it happened, it was an accident. I had been staying over at Isabella's apartment while she worked late one evening. Her small, stylish space smelled faintly of her perfume, a mix of jasmine and vanilla, comforting yet suffocating in its intimacy. I was supposed to grab a quick snack before heading home, but curiosity got the better of me. Her makeup table was a chaotic shrine of color and glamour, rows of lipsticks, eyeshadows, blushes, brushes, and jars of creams I didn't recognize. I had always been fascinated by it, the transformation that a few strokes of color could create. But I had never dared touch it, afraid of being caught or embarrassed. That night, her favorite lipstick, a bold, shimmering shade of crimson, caught my eye. The cap clicked off with an almost inviting sound. I hesitated, staring at the mirror that reflected my own awkward, slightly pale face. The idea was fleeting, dangerous, and thrilling. What if I just tried it? I applied it carefully, mimicking what I'd seen her do hundreds of times. At first, I felt ridiculous. The color was vibrant, impossible, alien on my lips. But then I looked up into the mirror, and something shifted. The reflection staring back wasn't just Ethan, the average guy who avoided attention and lived in the shadows. It was someone else, someone daring, playful, radiant. I laughed nervously, hiding behind my hand. What am I doing? But that was the spark. The first brushstroke of a fire I hadn't realized I was holding inside me. My name is Ethan Rivers. I'm 24, a recent college graduate working at a small marketing firm. My life is predictable, structured, and unremarkable, the kind of life where no one notices you unless you mess something up. That predictability suited me until Isabella entered it. Isabella is confident, stylish, and unapologetically herself. She works as a graphic designer, with an eye for details that leave me both impressed and intimidated. She's the kind of woman who commands attention without trying, a quality I've envied and secretly admired since we met. We've been dating for just over a year, and I love her, but our relationship has an unspoken tension. She's bold, experimental, and endlessly curious, while I'm cautious, self-conscious, and overly concerned with appearances. That contrast has always been part of our dynamic. I admire her fearlessness, yet I fear that my own hesitations make me inadequate. And yet, the night I put on her lipstick, something unexpected happened. Isabella's apartment reflects her personality, modern, bright, and organized with just enough clutter to feel lived in. Floor-to-ceiling windows let in the city lights, casting long shadows across her walls. The hum of traffic outside blends with the soft music she leaves playing, always jazz, always smooth, always comforting. It was here, in her private world, that I discovered a door I never knew existed. A door to something thrilling, frightening, and deeply transformative. At first, it was just the lipstick. I applied it carefully, unsure whether to laugh or panic. The mirror reflected something strange, a version of me that was playful, daring, and visibly different. It felt like I was looking at a stranger, yet something about her eyes mirrored my own thoughts and desires. The thrill of it was immediate. I couldn't stop looking, tracing the lines of my lips, adjusting the color, marveling at the audacity. I felt exposed yet powerful, vulnerable yet alive. That single act, that simple, impulsive brush of color, set everything in motion. It wasn't just about the lipstick. It was about the identity it unlocked, the hidden curiosity and suppressed desire to explore a side of myself I had never allowed to breathe. Isabella, of course, had no idea. She was out working late, completely unaware that I had dared to cross a boundary that I didn't even know I was curious about. Her absence was liberating. Her presence would have been terrifying. I replayed every memory of her application of makeup, every subtle gesture, every time I had watched her transform herself with confidence and elegance. It wasn't about imitation, it was about stepping into a persona that I had secretly admired. And it wasn't just about fun. I realized, with a jolt, that there was something deeply personal at stake. The more I explored, the more I confronted a part of myself I had long denied, a side that was drawn to femininity, to transformation, to expression that didn't fit neatly into societal expectations. The next day, I thought I could just wash it off, return to normal, and pretend it had never happened. But when Isabella returned, she noticed something, the faint stain on my lips that lingered longer than expected. She laughed, brushing it off. "Did you try one of my colors last night?" I panicked. Yeah. Just experimenting." She smirked knowingly. "You look different." "I like it." That simple approval sent a thrill through me, deeper than the lipstick itself. The idea that she could see me exploring this side of myself, and not recoil, was intoxicating. And it planted the seed of possibility. What if I could explore further? What if I could cross the line between curiosity and revelation, between secret and identity? I realized I was stepping into something dangerous. The thrill was undeniable, but so was the risk. What if someone else saw me? What if Isabella changed her mind? What if my own insecurities exploded into shame? But even as fear crept in, excitement surged stronger. Every glance in the mirror, every subtle adjustment, made me feel more daring, more alive. I was no longer just Ethan. I was someone in between, experimenting with boundaries, testing limits, and discovering a secret thrill in the act itself. And that's how it started. One impulsive swipe of lipstick, one stolen moment of curiosity, one daring act that spiraled into a situation I could never have predicted. Before I knew it, my playful experiment would escalate, drawing the attention of friends, colleagues, and even strangers. A single act of curiosity, putting on her lipstick, would lead everyone around me to believe something that wasn't true, that I was dating Isabella, that I was transforming into someone I never thought I could become, and that I was stepping into a world where the line between Ethan and my hidden self was disappearing. The question wasn't whether I would continue. The question was, how far could I go before my secret, my identity, was exposed? And that is where this story begins. The next few days were a blur of excitement and anxiety. Every time Isabella left the apartment, I found myself inching closer to the lipstick again, drawn by the thrill of transformation. It wasn't just the color, it was the feeling it brought, a rush of confidence, vulnerability, and forbidden curiosity. I started experimenting more intentionally. I brushed on mascara for the first time, tracing delicate strokes along my lashes. I applied eyeshadow, blending shades of soft pinks and muted browns, trying to mimic the effortless style Isabella wore. With every new addition, I felt both exhilarated and terrified, like I was walking a tightrope between daring and exposure. Each evening, I faced a war within myself. I loved the transformation, the way my reflection seemed to smile back at me with a different personality, one more playful and alluring than Ethan had ever been. But shame followed closely behind, whispering reminders of societal norms, my own insecurities, and the potential consequences if Isabella or anyone else discovered what I was doing. I wondered if this was curiosity or something deeper. Was I simply experimenting with a thrill, or was I exploring an essential part of myself that I had been suppressing? Each brush of lipstick on my lips, each swipe of blush on my cheeks, felt like peeling back a layer of my old self. The reflection in the mirror wasn't just makeup, it was a version of me that I had never dared to show. At night, I would lie awake, imagining what would happen if someone walked in. The thought of being caught thrilled me as much as it terrified me. There was a fine line between fun and disaster, and I was dancing along it with a mixture of fear and excitement. It started innocently enough. Isabella had invited a few friends over for a casual evening, and I decided, almost impulsively, to test the limits of my newfound confidence. I applied lipstick again, the bold crimson shade that had changed everything, and smoothed it out with careful precision. I chose a subtle blouse from Isabella's wardrobe, something she might lend me for fun, and paired it with slim-fitting jeans that softened the look without revealing the daring beneath. When the doorbell rang, my heart raced. Could they tell? Would Isabella notice my nervous excitement? I stepped into the living room with as much composure as I could muster. At first, no one seemed to notice. I laughed at jokes, handed out drinks, and even offered to help with snacks. But then, one of her friends, Jenna, raised an eyebrow and smiled knowingly. New look? She asked casually. I froze, stammering. Yeah, just experimenting. Jenna smirked, clearly entertained. Looks good on you. Very daring. Isabella glanced up, noticing my slightly flushed cheeks and the subtle shine of the lipstick. She didn't comment immediately, but I felt her eyes on me, curious and approving. The thrill of being seen, of having someone acknowledge this side of me without judgment, surged through me like electricity. As days passed, I found myself taking more risks. I experimented with full makeup, including foundation, eyeliner, and subtle contouring. I tried on different outfits from Isabella's collection, each more daring than the last. I reveled in the physical sensations, the smooth silk of a blouse against my skin, the sway of a skirt, the click of heels against the floor. But the thrill was always tempered by fear. Every creak of the floorboards, every unexpected knock at the door, sent me into a panic. I hid brushes, wiped off smudges, and prayed that Isabella wouldn't return early. The apartment, once a safe haven, now felt like a stage set where a single misstep could reveal my secret. I started leaving notes to myself as reminders. Stay calm. Act natural. Don't get caught. But the notes only heightened my anxiety, making every minor detail, a smear of lipstick, a stray curl, a misplaced heel, a potential disaster. One evening, Isabella invited a larger group over, a mix of colleagues and friends I didn't know well. I had just finished applying a subtle nude lipstick and curling my hair when the doorbell rang. My heart hammered. I answered the door, smiling nervously. Inside, the room was buzzing with conversation, laughter, and the clinking of glasses. I tried to blend in, helping serve snacks and engaging in small talk. But as the night progressed, I noticed subtle glances, friends whispering, pointing discreetly, and giving knowing smiles. Then it happened. One of Isabella's coworkers, Mark, leaned closer. Is that Ethan? He whispered, eyes wide, lips twitching in amusement. You're different. I froze, unsure what to say. My mind raced. Could he tell about the lipstick? About the subtle changes in my demeanor? I laughed nervously, fumbling for words, and managed to deflect with a joke. But the seed of suspicion had been planted. Everyone was starting to notice the transformation, and I realized that keeping this secret was becoming exponentially harder. Amid the suspense, I began to notice subtle changes in myself beyond the physical. My posture became more confident when I wore makeup. My voice softened unconsciously. My expressions shifted, blending vulnerability and charm. I was discovering a duality within myself that thrilled and frightened me simultaneously. Yet, every moment of confidence was paired with self-doubt. Could I maintain this facade? Was Isabella aware of the changes beyond the lipstick, the way I was exploring femininity in a world that expected me to conform to Ethan's old identity? The tension reached a breaking point when Isabella announced that a mutual friend's party would be held at their apartment. This was a larger gathering, with people I barely knew. My heart raced at the thought of presenting myself in front of strangers while maintaining the delicate balance of Ethan and my crossdressing persona. I prepared meticulously. Lipstick, makeup, outfit, hair, every detail had to be perfect. But I couldn't escape the fear gnawing at my stomach. Every step toward the party was a step into the unknown, where a single misstep could reveal everything. The suspense wasn't just about being seen in public. It was about revealing my secret, my desires, and a side of myself I wasn't sure I could fully own. And I knew that once this night began, nothing would be the same. As I stood by the mirror one last time, applying the final touch of lipstick, I caught a glimpse of myself and froze. The person staring back wasn't just Ethan. It was someone in between, someone bold, someone daring. Someone that, if seen, could change how everyone, Isabella, her friends, and even strangers, viewed me forever. A knock at the door startled me. Guests had arrived early. My heart raced. The lipstick, the outfit, the dual identity, everything was about to be tested in the real world. And I realized with a shiver, tonight, the experiment would no longer be private. Tonight, the world would see me, and the stakes had never been higher. The party was in full swing. Music thumped through Isabella's apartment, a pulsating backdrop that made my heart race in sync with the bass. The room was crowded, laughter and chatter blending into a symphony of chaos. And there I was, perched on the edge of fear and exhilaration, my lips painted the familiar bold crimson, my outfit carefully chosen to walk the fine line between stylish and striking. I could feel the weight of every glance. Some were curious, some amused, and some, the ones I dreaded, full of suspicion. I was no longer just Ethan. I was a spectacle, a secret dancing in plain sight. A sudden laugh behind me made me spin, nearly bumping into Mark, the co-worker who had first noticed the lipstick. His eyes flicked between mine and Isabella, a teasing smirk on his lips. "Wow," he said quietly, leaning closer than necessary. "Ethan, or should I say wow?" I froze, unsure if it was admiration, mockery, or suspicion. My pulse spiked. Just trying something new," I stammered, forcing a casual laugh. He chuckled knowingly. "Bold move. I like it." Relief washed over me, followed immediately by renewed anxiety. That laugh, that glance, that whisper of acknowledgement, it was a spark that could ignite exposure at any moment. As the night progressed, more people approached, commenting on the changes they noticed. "You look amazing," said a friend of Isabella's from college. "Are you dating her?" My stomach dropped. The words hung in the air, heavy and dangerous. Everyone was starting to connect the dots, or imagining connections that weren't real. I laughed nervously, trying to deflect. "We're close friends, that's all." But the laughter around me was tinged with curiosity. Eyes lingered, whispers spread, and suddenly, the room felt like a stage where my secret was a performance with high stakes. Just as I began to think I might survive the evening unscathed, a knock at the apartment door froze me in place. Isabella frowned, raising an eyebrow. "I didn't invite anyone else," she murmured, moving toward the door. I followed instinctively, my heels clicking against the floor. My hands trembled slightly, brushing against the silky fabric of my blouse. The last thing I wanted was a surprise visitor, someone who might notice the subtle signs of my transformation. When the door opened, a tall figure I didn't recognize stepped inside. Their eyes swept the room, settling on me with unnerving precision. "Ethan," they said, voice low and deliberate. "We need to talk." Every instinct screamed at me. Who is this? What did they know? The thrill of the secret, the excitement of being Celeste in public, collided violently with fear. I excused myself under the pretense of grabbing a drink, retreating to a quieter corner of the apartment. My hands shook as I touched my lips, tracing the line of crimson that had become a symbol of my dual identity. The unknown visitor approached, their gaze unwavering. "I know what you've been doing," they said. My heart raced. I don't know what you mean." Their smirk was chilling. "Don't play dumb. The lipstick, the outfits, everyone's talking. You can't hide it anymore." Fear and exhilaration warred inside me. Should I confess? Should I run? Or should I embrace this side of myself fully, even under scrutiny? In that tense moment, my hand brushed against Isabella's vanity mirror. My reflection stared back at me, lips bold and red, eyes lined perfectly, hair curled delicately around my face. Two selves in one. Ethan, frozen in fear, and Celeste, radiant and daring. The mirror seemed to mock me, showing the delicate balance I was trying to maintain. One slip, one misstep, and everything, my identity, my secret, my relationship with Isabella, could unravel. The visitor's eyes followed mine, and I realized they were aware of the mirror too, recognizing the duality I had tried to conceal. Isabella returned, sensing the tension immediately. "What's going on here?" she demanded, her voice a mixture of curiosity and concern. The visitor's gaze flicked between us. "She's experimenting," they said coolly, nodding toward me. "Trying out a different persona. People are noticing."
My heart sank.
The secret I had guarded so carefully was teetering on the edge of exposure. Isabella's eyes narrowed, her expression unreadable. Was she impressed, concerned, or suspicious. I swallowed, trying to force a calm smile. It's nothing really. Just experimenting. But her lips pressed into a thin line. With my lipstick? She asked softly, but with sharp eyes that seemed to pierce straight through me. I nodded, my stomach in knots. Yes. Everything shifted. The room seemed to shrink, conversations muffled, eyes drawn to the tension radiating from me. I felt exposed, vulnerable, yet a part of me thrilled at being seen. Could I maintain this? Could I keep balancing Ethan and Celeste, fear and excitement, secrecy and revelation? Every fiber of my being screamed with both dread and exhilaration. The visitor leaned closer, whispering a challenge. If you want to continue this, you'll need to prove it. Are you ready to face what happens if the world sees both sides of you? My mind raced. The duality I had been hiding was now in the open. Friends, strangers, Isabella, all watching, all noticing, all judging in some way. I had to decide, retreat into the safety of Ethan, discard Celeste and the thrill of transformation, or step fully into this daring persona and risk everything. Every heartbeat echoed in my ears. My lips, crimson and bold, seemed to mock me. The heels I wore clicked like a countdown toward revelation. My reflection in the mirror reminded me of the courage and the danger. As I considered my choice, the visitor reached for a camera phone, fingers hovering over the screen. Panic surged. A single photo could expose everything. My identity, my secret, my flirtation with a world I wasn't ready to reveal. I took a shaky breath. Wait, please, you don't understand. It's not what it looks like. But the words felt hollow. They didn't understand, and maybe I didn't either. Isabella stepped closer, protective and uncertain. Who is this? She asked sharply. The visitor smiled, holding the phone like a weapon. Someone who knows. And someone who thinks it's time the world knows too. I froze, caught between fear and exhilaration. The duality of my identity pressed to its limit. Celeste, bold and radiant, stared out from the mirror. Ethan, anxious and vulnerable, trembled in my body. The room seemed to hold its breath. The music, the chatter, the laughter, all faded into the background, leaving only the tension between what I had hidden and what was about to be revealed. My lips, painted with Isabella's lipstick, felt impossibly heavy. One wrong move, one blink, one slip of composure, and the secret I had nurtured so carefully would explode into reality. And in that moment I realized, tonight would change everything. The visitor's phone hovered in the air like a threat. Every heartbeat in my chest was deafening, echoing the fear that my secret, my identity, was about to be exposed to the entire room, perhaps even beyond. Isabella's gaze shifted between the visitor and me, her expression unreadable, her arms crossed as if she were both protective and judging me at once. What do you mean, the world knows? She demanded. I swallowed hard. I can explain, but the visitor's smirk stopped me. There's nothing to explain, they said, voice low and teasing. Everyone's already noticed. And honestly, they're curious. They think you're daring, bold, maybe even dating her. I felt my face heat up, a mixture of panic and shame. The room seemed to shrink around me. Friends and strangers alike were stealing glances, whispering to each other. Every eye felt like a spotlight exposing my secret side, the side of me I had only ever revealed to myself and Isabella. I backed toward the vanity mirror, trying to regain composure. My reflection stared back at me. Crimson lips, delicate eyeliner, curled hair, soft blush on my cheeks. Two versions of myself collided. Ethan, frozen and terrified, and Celeste, radiant and confident, staring boldly through the glass. I wanted to disappear, to vanish into thin air. But a small, almost imperceptible thrill ran through me. Part of me loved being seen, loved the audacity of having lived this secret for so long, and now being pushed to the edge. The visitor tilted the phone, as if testing my reaction. Smile, they whispered. Let's see how daring you really are. I froze, unsure if I could. My legs trembled in the heels, My hands hovered uncertainly over my blouse, and my voice caught when I tried to speak. Isabella stepped closer, her eyes narrowing as she examined me. Then, surprisingly, she smirked. "You're really going to make this interesting, aren't you?" she said. Her tone was teasing, but there was an edge of challenge. It struck me then, she wasn't angry. She wasn't disappointed. She was curious, intrigued, and maybe, just maybe, she was enjoying watching me navigate this dangerous new world of secrecy and transformation. I felt a rush of adrenaline. The combination of fear, excitement, and her gaze was intoxicating. But it was also dangerous. One wrong move, one slip of composure, and everything could collapse. The visitor finally lowered the phone, but the tension remained. "You've got a choice," they said softly, almost conspiratorially. "Step back, erase it, pretend it never happened, or step forward, embrace it, and let everyone see who you really are. But know this, once you step forward, there's no turning back." Every nerve in my body screamed. My reflection in the mirror seemed to mock me, showing the daring side I wanted to embrace and the frightened side that wanted to flee. The room felt smaller, the music louder, the whispers sharper. I realized in that instant that this wasn't just about lipstick or makeup anymore. It was about identity, desire, courage, and the perilous thrill of revealing a side of myself that no one expected, maybe not even me. I took a shaky breath, glancing at Isabella. She was smiling faintly, her arms still crossed, eyes glittering with curiosity and challenge. The visitor watched, phone ready, poised to capture my choice. I reached for the mirror one last time, brushing my fingers along the edge, feeling the smooth glass beneath my touch. My crimson lips shimmered under the overhead lights, my heart pounding so loudly it might have been heard by everyone in the room. And then, the sound of the elevator arriving in the building, a knock at the apartment door, echoed through the space. I froze. Who could it be now? Another unexpected visitor? A friend arriving early? Or someone who could unravel everything? My dual identity, the secret I had nurtured, the delicate balance between Ethan and Celeste? The mirror reflected my wide, terrified eyes, my trembling lips, and the duality that had consumed me these past weeks. The room seemed to hold its breath with me. Isabella tilted her head, watching my reaction, and whispered almost playfully, "Are you going to answer it?" I wanted to scream, laugh, or vanish entirely. But all I could do was stand frozen, poised between revelation and concealment, between fear and exhilaration. And in that heartbeat, everything hung in the balance. Would I reveal my secret to the new arrival? Would the world finally see Celeste, or would Ethan retreat, hiding the side of himself that had been craving freedom? The answer, the choice that could change everything, was right there, waiting. And just as I reached for the doorknob, the screen fades to black.